Hi, my name is Mark Fermor. My firm GeoSmart has spent the last 10 years developing a combined flood risk model, FloodSmart Analytics. It estimates risk and annual losses at property level from the combined effects of surface water, groundwater, rivers, and coastal flooding. Now, there's been a fundamental shift in thinking in the last 10 years. So I want to share some insights to particularly why groundwater is a central factor that completes the flood risk picture we can see here. This was February 2014, major flooding in the River Thames. This really helps insurers with pricing and underwriting of flood risk. So I want to explain this new paradigm. River forecasting in 2014 was only giving us a few days warning of this event, but recognizing the role of groundwater driving this river flooding now gives us a month warning of events such as these. In recent years, big data hydrology research has demonstrated that base flow is a primary driver of river flooding. Essentially, the water table on the river is a combined system, but the two are often out of sync. Rising water tables flood properties and also prime rivers for long duration flooding events when these are triggered by later storms. We can see here with the River Thames looking in detail at the hydrograph at Kingston. The red line here represents the base flow, and this was a very unprecedented groundwater event priming the river for flooding. The peak events on here in blue are not really extreme at all. There's actually 7 in the period of 18 months record here. But this is the first groundwater event of anything like this magnitude in the entire 143 years of record at Kingston Gauge. So you can see it's helpful to consider the joint probability, thinking of a flood as two independent events. The slow and very predictable groundwater flooding we can forecast a month ahead, and then maybe weeks later, the river in flood after a storm flashing down to meet it. Where they coincide, that's the source of some of the biggest flooding and disproportionately increased duration and hence losses. So this is what our FloodSmart Analytics now provides. For the first time, we're able to provide this joined up flood risk assessment for all property, residential and commercial in Britain. And this shows the platform that gives you access to that data. Looking at the national overview results, we can see that groundwater is impacting about 3% of British properties, contributing about 13% of the annual losses. But it also exacerbates damage and losses at 80% almost of properties within river flood areas. Looking at individual property level, we can see river flooding contributes about £200 a year of annual losses outside groundwater risk areas, but up to about £500 a year within groundwater risk areas. On the commercial property side, we're sort of doubling from 3% to 6% properties at risk from groundwater, and you can see here about half of those subject to river flooding. Groundwater is exacerbating the losses there, and some proportion of surface water and coastal flooding. When we look at the effect of climate change, it's a very localized picture. National average of about doubling in a generation, but it's a very sensitive at some locations and not at all at others. Our data provides this more joined up flood risk assessment for all sources now through to 2100 for use in pricing, underwriting, portfolio management, reinsurance, and financial regulatory reporting for asset managers and so on. We'll be pleased to brief you further on flood risk to property, the use of our data, if you'd like to get in touch. Thank you very much.